everybody. Welcome back to our podcast. I am Althea Rain.
I'm Halo Smythe.
And Yuri Inoku.
And we are your hosts for Today Geek. So, today's segment, to start off our podcast, we gotta talk about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, like two of my least favorite people in the entire freaking world.
I hate them. I hate them so much.
And they somehow come back every single time.
They're like herpes. You can't get rid of them.
I know. Well, yeah, there's a reason for that. We'll get into it. We'll get into it later.
I want to preface this by saying I never followed anything with the royal family. I'm not an Anglophile. I'm not into the whole monarchy there. But I have friends who have followed it since Kate Middleton and Prince William got married and watched the wedding and all of that jazz, and then followed when they had their first kid. And I couldn't get away from the story even if I wanted to because my friends were talking about it. And anytime I went through like a grocery store, it was all over the tabloids. And I'm like, okay, can we stop now?
Yeah, I had the same experience. Whereas like I wasn't super into it, but it was like all over the place, and like all my Anglophile friends were like staying up till 5 a.m. to watch the wedding and just really into it.
So
I just watched the wedding, like a recap of the wedding. I was like, oh, that's
I didn't
cool.
even watch that. I just kind of avoided it like the plague. But anyway, so as things developed and changed, suddenly you had his little brother, Harry, get with Meghan Markle, who is a dumpster fire of a human being. She's almost as bad as Cody from Sister Wives.
She's like the female version of Cody.
Those two would be a perfect match made in hell.
They really would. You can't pair two narcissists together. That's bad news.
The entire world would explode with those two. But we got to talk a little bit about, if you don't know much about them and you're wondering why in the hell they're all over the news, they've been pretty inflammatory for their family for several years now. She had to kind of toe the line because I will admit the Queen has probably been very specific about stuff, but then again, the Queen was raised with a certain sense of propriety that you just kind of have to, deal with if you're in the royal family.
Well, yeah, I think it's important to point out. So there's a lot that's changed, in the royal family since the Queen. The Queen did a lot to modernize the royal family. She had the first coronation that was televised live. Like that was an exclusive event only for the elites, and she televised it live. That was actually Prince Philip, or I guess he was King Consort Philip.
Well, not to mention,
after she's coronated.
Not to try and point something out, but she would also have been the first queen in existence where TV was a thing.
That's true.
So
but
it couldn't
before
have been
then,
televised live, really.
Yeah, but before then, it was an exclusive event for only the wealthy elites. But also, her father became king. Her father became king because his brother abdicated the throne to marry an actress, which is like really important to this Meghan Markle Prince Harry thing, because the fact that
even to Kate Middleton, who wasn't royalty.
Yeah, Kate Middleton too, she was like technically a commoner, even though she went to school with William. So I mean, commoner to what English people is not the same way we think of like commoner middle class in America, because she was not poor. Like this whole idea, like, oh, she was just middle class. Yeah, she was middle class in station, but not in wealth, because she went to school with Prince William.
But she was still not a royal. That was the entire point.
Yeah, she wasn't a lady, or like she wasn't in the kind of station you'd expect a royal.
But I guess it's because William's marriage to her, it was because it resembled so much Princess Diana, because she was technically
like middle class as well. Yeah. I think that's true.
Yeah, so
Well, no, she
that
was
kind of
Lady Diana, so she came from a wealthy family or from a high station family because she was a lady before they got married. So, anyways,
either way, this all opened the door for Meghan Markle to come into the picture.
yeah,
Now, she never went to the same school. She would be the embodiment of like the Prince and Me, basically. Only if you went with a Jersey Shore version of her.
True.
And basically she did her own stuff before then. She was on the show Deal or No Deal. She was one of the ladies who would open up the briefcases. She was
Yeah.
basically a model. She put herself out there as a model. Let's make that absolutely and abundantly clear. She was never a victim. She was never completely objectified for her body just willy-nilly out of the blue. She put herself through modeling as a career. She put herself through objectification of her in sexy and appealing outfits.
yeah, and she didn't get into acting. As far as I know, she didn't get into acting just by hard work or anything like that. Her dad was in the business. Her dad was like a lighting guy for movies. So she had like connections in the industry. She didn't just like work her way up from nothing.
Right. So she knew how Hollywood and modeling and all of that jazz, she knows how that works and she got into it anyway. So,
Yeah.
it is no surprise that she caught Prince Harry's attention and latched onto him like a newborn at her mother's teat. So,
Yeah.
Prince Harry was kind of an odd duck, kind of an odd guy out of the family anyway. From what I understand, he didn't seem to really want to fit in. He did because it was the royal family, but he did things to kind of step out into his own, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, because I mean, he knows the throne is not gonna be his, so technically he's not like obliged to follow up like a crown prince like his older brother William would be. Um, preparing them to be king.
Right.
Like
So he
as
didn't have the same obligations. And then he got
mhm.
with Meghan Markle and it was kind of it was kind of inflammatory for them right on the off. And while she didn't really say too much about the queen, I don't know exactly what the drama was early on, but there was some drama going on earlier on in their lives. And then tragically this last year, the queen passed away and crap started hitting the fan with them going on this like tour where they talked about how abusive the royal family was and her. I don't
Yeah.
even know if I have my timeline straight. I think they started some crap before she even died.
Yeah, well, before she died, they started out trying to as working royals, so they were going to events and things like that. But there was a few pieces of drama. Of course, there was Meghan Markle saying that the press was targeting her. Well, the press targets everyone in England. The press targets anyone in the royal family
How do you think that
circles.
Diana died? The press was
Yeah, that's
chasing
how.
her.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, that's how Diana died, and Meghan Markle knows that that is a sore point for Harry. That if she can convince him that the press is attacking her, like like they attacked Princess Diana, that that's going to really hit some buttons with Harry. Um, so I don't think that any of that is accidental. Um, and so there was that. She considered herself a political activist, and the royal families is supposed to be apolitical because they're supposed to represent all the people. They're not really supposed to get involved in politics, and she couldn't keep her mouth shut about politics.
especially
And then, of
politics
course,
here in the United States. She went all about that. And the royal
yeah,
family is supposed to be
Neutral.
completely impartial to anything going on outside their own country.
yeah,
Like, if she was going off about, let's say, Trump or something, that could cause, when he was
A
president, that
rift.
could have caused a rift between our political relations with them and vice versa, because she represents their whole country, their whole nation, the crown.
exactly,
Even though
yeah.
she's
So
not a political figure at this point, she's a figurehead, or she was anyway. The whole royal family is a figurehead. It's like the flagship of a fleet.
yeah, that's a good way to put it. They're not like they don't have any. The royal family doesn't really have any political power. They're not supposed to be political. They're supposed to just be like a representation of the country and a host for foreign leaders who come to visit the country. That's pretty much their job at this point.
Yeah.
They're pretty neutered in terms of politics. They don't have. It's all Parliament makes the laws and enforces the laws, and
Parliament, the prime minister,
yeah,
it's its own thing at this point.
yeah,
But Meghan Markle has no business. And I know some people will say, well, you know what? She's her own person. She has her rights too. But here's the thing.
not when you
Every
marry
time,
into that family.
or anytime you work for a company, if you work for any kind of company that has a public viewership, public face, you are told what you can and cannot say as long as you are part of that company on the shift, on the clock. I can tell you that's
Definitely
a thing. When I worked at Movie Gallery back in 2006 and 2007, I was told I couldn't even tell people Merry Christmas because I represented that company. And I could have gotten fired if somebody reported me as saying Merry Christmas. That was the year of hell for people who wanted to say Merry Christmas to people.
Oh my god.
So
yeah,
that's just a job. If you marry into a family that is as high class as the royal family, you shut your cake hole to people on TV or people who are mandatory or otherwise reporters to the public. You shut your cake hole.
yeah.
Huh.
Now, if she had her own private personal friends and she wants to slam everybody and talk about this shit with them, then, that's one thing. But the moment one of them goes off and tells somebody else, then she would have had to cut that person off because she can no longer trust her own personal friends.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
once you
and
start going public with this stuff and you start publicly denouncing your own government because you don't agree with them and you're part of you're part of a family that has something to do with a representation of an entire country that's not the country that you were born and raised in, all hell is going to break loose.
and it's despair. So they could have just been like, you know what, we're gonna we want to be political, we want to be political activists, and that's what we want to do with our career. So we're just not going to be working royals. But they tried to have their cake and eat it too. They wanted to be working
Yeah.
royals. I mean, that's what Queen Elizabeth's father did, or uncle did. He said, I want to marry an actress. I want to go live in America with my actress wife. So I'm going to abdicate the throne and go do that. But they didn't do that. It's not like he's going to be the future king. He's not even, he's like 11th in line now to be king. It's not going to happen.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing. This is what you were talking about. Let's expand on the cake and eat it too thing. They wanted to be. They kept on saying that they wanted their privacy. This is one of the biggest things, and we will get to why this is important later, because this is where it all comes into relevancy for us. But they've always been saying, well, we want our privacy. We want this and we want that. Well, why are you coming out to the public to state your political opinions while wanting your privacy, while wanting to have a right to your opinions, just in general? If that's what you want, and then
be a working royal.
And then when they start telling you that if you don't stop it, they're going to cut you off and disassociate with you, which is kind of what was going on with the family before the queen died. they were talking about how that was like a punishment if that would be going on. They didn't want to be kicked out of the royal family. Well, then shut your cake hole. So that was going on before the queen died, and then the queen died, and they came out and started going off with this whole stuff about how they were abusive, how the queen was just an evil woman. Like, first and foremost, why are you speaking ill of the dead when they can no longer come out and defend themselves against your baseless accusations?
A little bit like the Oprah interview happened before the Queen even died, and what was worse about it was King Philip was sick at the time.
Yeah.
So she was dealing with her husband dying, and then having to deal with it being heavily implied that she's a racist. And then then Megxit, that was after Megxit. So there was Megxit where they said they weren't going to be working royals anymore, but they wanted to keep their titles. And they left and moved into Tyler Perry's house in California. Like Tyler Perry just lets them live in one of his houses. I don't know why. I don't know if like there's some kind of weird.
Because probably it's like he could just say, yeah, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry stay in my place.
I don't know. I don't know why. It's so weird. Like, but yeah, so they live in one of Tyler Perry's mansions for free. And they went on Oprah. Meghan Markle made accusations while Queen Elizabeth was still alive that Queen Elizabeth was racist. They didn't say specifically it's her, but they said there were people in. They also made claims that Meghan Markle tried to get she was dealing with depression and suicidal thoughts, and she tried to get help, and they told her she couldn't get help because it looked bad to the press, even though Harry has a therapist that he goes to. Like they're the royal family. They have their own medical staff, I bet. Own staff. I don't believe for a second that they couldn't get help for her if she needed a therapist.
But the thing is, there were so many rumors even before the whole Oprah episode about her using a lot of the funds from the royal family into BS stuff. I think there was one that someone complained about her conduct in the palace that made personal assistants quit. So I think like they had an internal investigation onto her for the bullying allegations. So she's not a saint as everybody, as she claims to be. Like, if there's so many rumors about her during her time in the palace, it's like, no.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That did happen where apparently people have said that like staff that has worked for the royal family for like generations were quitting because she was bullying them so bad. Because she just kind of had this attitude like they were beneath her, and that's not how the royal family operates with their staff.
Imagine all those people working there, like you said, generations of family members working there, and they just up and left. Like, bro, they'd stayed there for a long time because they were probably set for life there. But how bad must Meghan Markle be, or how bad was she that they ended up like, screw this, and left?
Sounds like she was an absolute tyrant.
But she just got really full of herself.
So now they've been on this like whole shtick of trying to pass around this memoir that Prince Henry has come out, or Prince Harry. I can't even say his name because you know what? Screw him. Prince Harry has come out with this memoir that has been. That's
out
like
there.
stupid. It's stupid.
What was the
his
Spare
memoir
or something?
Spare, yeah, it's called Spare, and it's basically like, I'm such a victim because I was the spare and not the king. And I think that gets to like a lot of the a lot of the issue with the royal, like with Harry and Meghan, is Meghan really wanted to be Kate, and she can't be because Kate's Kate, and
Exactly.
Harry is, you know, the spares are always a problem. They're always a
Yes.
problem. There are a lot of kings who just kill off. There are a lot of
Well,
kings who just kill off their brothers and uncles and anyone else who might take the throne from
And
them because
anybody who's
without
ever seen Lion King knows that spares are a problem.
yeah.
Let's
Um,
not. I mean, let's remember Scar for that very reason, right?
yeah, but interestingly, I was gonna say something and then my trail of thought left me.
All
Oh,
because I mentioned
that
Lion
sucks.
King.
Yes, I don't like you.
uh, so now because of their continuous efforts to claim they want privacy, all while pushing a memoir of how they should have been, king and queen, blah blah blah.
and don't forget the Netflix documentary series and the Oprah
Oh
interview,
my God, the
and I mean,
Netflix.
there's
And
so
she's been
much.
she's been caught lying. Her own siblings, what was it, sister, has come out and said she's lied about this, that, and another thing. She's been lying about all of it and claiming victimhood of the objectification despite the fact that she was a model. I want to remind you that she took the job as a model. And yet
Yeah,
she's complaining about the look, don't bite the hand that ever fed you. Okay, don't burn your bridges that way, lady. That's my one piece of advice for you. Because I don't think this marriage with you and him is gonna last forever. Because eventually he's gonna wake up and realize you done goofed up with his life, and he's gonna
I'm
kick you
not.
to the curb, and all you're gonna have is your modeling. But you're not gonna have that if you keep burning your bridges.
I've even heard rumors that he was photographed skiing recently, I think in Colorado. He was photographed skiing recently without her there. Like, there's already rumors that they're not even living with each other anymore. So I wouldn't be shocked at all if it ends in the next couple of
Well,
years.
maybe he's finally waking the hell up and realizing he's let her ruin his life.
He's not
Yeah,
real smart. I mean,
he
even
he
Princess Diana said he's not very
he
smart.
had he had a very good he's had a pretty good life for himself. Like he was in the military, and I guess he stayed a lot longer than
What was required of him?
obviously. Yeah, that
Yeah,
what was
and he
required
really
of
should have been
him.
allowed to stay. I don't think he left because, I mean, I could be
Yeah.
wrong, but I don't think he left because he wanted to. I think he left because he was being pressured to become a working
Mhm.
royal and get married and stuff like that. I think he probably would have just stayed
Yeah.
and he should have been allowed to stay because now he has no mission. There's no plan for him. And I think that's part of the
Mhm.
problem. Is like the royal family just really didn't have a plan for like what he would do that would be meaningful, but
And
they
I
Yeah.
wanted him to
totally
be a
get it.
working royal.
Mhm.
So they should have had a better plan for him, or just let him stay in the military until he was ready to come out.
Yeah,
But now that's all done, and you can't go back and undo what happened there. And now he's stuck with this absolutely intolerable woman. And now we've had a South Park episode that has recently come into creation, and we watched it yesterday. Oh my God. We're going to be throwing up some screenshots because this shit happened. So if you haven't watched it, it's on Amazon.
I think you can watch it for free on like if you have an HBO Now subscription. I just bought the episode on Amazon so you can watch it.
Right. So let's talk about this. Obviously we've got like two kind of little plots going on at the same time. They usually have something like that where they tie into each other, but it starts with the death of the queen and Kyle's
The
younger
Queen of
brother,
Canada.
the Queen of Canada. Right.
Yes. Yes. Not the Queen of England, the Queen of Canada. It's important.
It's important to state the difference, okay?
Right, the Queen of Canada, and Kyle's little sibling is like wailing at the PC and won't let him on it so he can play with his friends. And his friends decide they're going to go off and play without him, which is not what they had agreed upon. Then you have the two main problems of the show, which are basically the embodiment of Harry and Meghan, going on their tour where they want their privacy, and every single time they go on the show or when they're running their mouths, we want our privacy, we have a free right to our privacy. And they decide to move to this small town of South Park, to move there into, what was it, Eric, who's
I
house?
think it's Eric's house. I think it was Eric's house.
Eric's
Yeah.
old house.
Yeah, they tour around the world trying to find a place where they can have privacy and wind up in South Park. And for some reason, Megan really loves South Park, and they move
it's
in.
so
They buy
private.
Eric's house.
Like, if it's so private,
And
you can
they
enjoy
arrive there in their
privacy.
private jet and start moving their stuff into the house from their private jet.
All while Harry's character gets out his freaking drums and starts playing it really loud while they start running their mouths about how they want their privacy, completely disrupting Kyle and everybody around them.
Yeah, and it just escalates. Like, it starts out with him like just playing his drums out on the side of the road, and then he the next night they're doing fireworks, and which is like my neighbors, by the way. This is exactly how my neighbors are. They start shooting off fireworks. He's out playing polo on the front yard. He's got like a horse riding around, and they start like putting up banners on the house to say, "We want our privacy, leave us alone." But then if you go out and look at them, they're like, "How dare you look at us? Show us our privacy. Have you ever heard of privacy? Why are you looking over here?" While they're shooting off fireworks and playing polo on the front yard. And so this really annoys uptight Kyle a whole lot because he's super uptight and he just wants to be left alone.
And then you come into this like brand thing, because at school this one kid says, you have to work on your brand. We're going to go to this one place that can help you work on your brand. An agency.
Butters.
Yeah, his name is Butters. And they go to this place, and I cannot believe the words are cutting me out of my mouth, but it's called Come Hammer. And it's not spelled like C-O-M-E.
And we've been trying to figure out like what the joke is with Come Hammer. Is it like Come Hither? Like Come Hither branding, but they changed it to Come Hammer because that's funnier. It's funny, but I also kind of don't get the joke.
Yeah, that's honestly, to like break away from this for a moment. This is probably the one reason I never really got into South Park or never really sat down to watch it, because I would probably miss like half the cultural references. It would just go right over my head.
That's weird, because I think you're probably one of the like most pop culture educated, one of the most pop culture educated out of all of us. So that's funny that
but unless it hits my purview, I live under a freaking rock. I don't know about like the whole socialization stuff with people, and I don't get a lot of the other humor that goes on. But anyway, I digress. So they start working on it, and every single time that this agent tries to come up with a new brand name for Kyle, it always includes victim at the end. Gotta play that victim card.
I think one of them was like Grammy winning rich superstar victim or something to that effect. And it's like, no, wait, that's already taken. I think that was a reference to Kanye West.
Oh
but
I
can't be sure. But I think that was a Kanye West reference.
See, I wouldn't have even guessed that it was a Kanye West reference because I don't know celebrities. That's the thing.
Well, I think that's what it was.
But I don't know. But either way, so he came up with all these things. Every single one of them, it doesn't matter what else he came up with, victim, it was always part of it.
Because it's like part of it.
Because everybody's playing the victim card now.
Yes. Everyone's brand is victim.
Right. So Anyway, it was it got he kept on trying to get his friends, but it's like every single time he tried to hang out with his friends or do something with them, they were either not buying into his crap of what he was talking about, because he even tried to change his dressing style, his fashion for a day. And it's like the entire time that he's doing this, he's like, but this doesn't really feel like me. It's not who I am. This is not what I am. And so
And the message was, it doesn't matter what you are, only what people perceive you to be, which I think is very true in 2023.
yeah,
I
that
think
is.
too, like he had a hard time playing some of the things, but I do think like one of the cool parts of the story was he goes back. He's like, yeah, this is not me. This is not me.
It was after Butters was
then,
getting beat up by a girl because he
right.
got a little confident with her and started calling her names. So he goes back to there. Meanwhile, the Meghan and Harry characters, we're skipping over the best part here, though. At one point, Harry's character comes up to his window with his blue penis and testicles scrubbing up against Kyle's window. Kyle refuses to even look at him, and then he goes back over to the wife, and they're starting to think that Kyle's like completely spying on him. But he rubs his blue dick. He rubs his blue dick all over the window.
We skipped over a couple important things that I was trying to lead up to that. But what happens is Kyle goes back and gets this brand of, I don't care about things, I'm cool, nothing bothers me, and he starts actually acting that out. And that leads up to that blue dick scene.
Because he arrives at the house, and then in front of his house and the door, all these covers of the version of Meghan Markle are right there in the door, but you see the prince and her looking at him from the window in front of the house, like trying to get a reaction from Kyle. So Kyle is like, I don't care, and then he goes in, and that's when the prince decides, I'm gonna show him my blue penis.
Yeah.
And then he goes there and does that thing on the window.
And we're just watching it. It's like window licking special, only window dicking special. I'm just gonna say that.
Oh gosh.
So
but let's talk about the blue penis thing, because I didn't get the joke. Like, I didn't understand. He was like, I'm gonna go rub my blue penis, show him my blue penis or something like that. That'll get him to pay attention.
Yuri, take it away. You know how the story on that one.
The blue penis thing?
Yeah, you know the story on that. You were telling us.
So no, I wasn't, but supposedly he mentions in his book about him getting like
frostbite.
Well, I think he was like going on a mountain. I don't know what mountain was though that he was.
But he was on some kind of chili expedition, and he got blue balls from it.
Blue balls. So but does it like really end up being like that forever? I don't get that part.
Yeah, from what I read,
what?
From what I saw in people talking about online, I haven't read the book. I won't pay for the book. See, I thought the joke was that Meghan Markle's cold ass bitch, and so his dick is blue. And then I went and looked it up, and what I found out was he wrote in his book that he went, I don't know where so this is before Kate and William got married. He went on an expedition up a mountain somewhere, and he got frostbite in several places, including his penis. But his penis took the longest to recover, and his father was very concerned that his penis might stay blue, stay frostbitten. But apparently,
why would
you
show that in a memoir? Why would you talk about that?
I don't know why you would talk about that in a memoir, but it was really funny. Is if you go back and watch the royal wedding now, apparently, when Kate and William got married, he was in the wedding, but his dick was still frostbitten. So if you go back and watch it now, you can kind of see why he's walking like really, really slow.
Oh my
Oh my
god.
god.
But anyway, so the whole thing comes back to um the two of them were not satisfied with what was going on, and so they go to the same Come Hammer agency, and this is right around when Kyle comes in and starts blasting this, like saying, just be who you are. We don't need this brand agency crap. And they're like, at first they were like, you spy, why are you here? And he's like, just cut the crap. And Harry comes to this realization that this isn't what he wants, but yet she's absolutely silent throughout the whole thing to the point where he lifts up her entire head to see if she's like a robot or some crap like that. And then at the very tail end, his friends come to try to get him outside for a while so they can play basketball. Prince Harry comes up to them and says, "Can I play too?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." He brings his drum set over to play the drums while they're playing basketball.
Well, they said he could play.
He just didn't say what he wanted to play.
I think that's kind of supposed to be a reference to them just being completely out of touch. It's like the miscommunication there is like an example of how they're just totally out of touch with normal people.
Well,
But,
kind of how I took it for Prince Harry is it kind of goes back to not just him being out of like touch, but it goes back to him not being that smart kind of thing, but also trying to find his own way to fit in. I mean, I think it's kind of touching that he was playing the drums to give them music while they're playing basketball. So I kind of think it was like a little bit mixture of all three things. That's kind of how I took it.
Can be, yeah. Because he isn't very smart.
He is sort of out of touch, and he doesn't know how to relate to others who are just normal.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he wouldn't know how to play basketball if his ass depended on it.
That's probably true.
So that's pretty much how the whole episode wrapped up. And there's been a rather large debacle about it with them. Some people are saying, some people have thought that they were going to sue, and then there's a new video out that Yori gave us yesterday that says they're not actually going to sue. So we're not exactly sure what they're going to do about that, but apparently just to Meghan Markle it's been highly offensive, and the rest of the country just doesn't give a crap at this point because it's funny.
South Park really nailed this one. They haven't recently been like really nailing stuff. They really nailed this one on the head. And the thing is like British people don't understand freedom of speech because they don't have it. So they think when people make fun of them that they can sue. But it's the United States. We have freedom of speech. There's nothing
they
to
were
sue
never
over.
named by name as Harry and it's clear that that's who they were representing, but because it's a work of fiction, it's completely it is what it is. It's our freedom of expression, not just the freedom of speech, but freedom to express ourselves. And as long as nothing was definitively defamed against them, they've got nothing in a lawsuit. Even if they sued, what are they going to do? All South Park creators would have to say, well, we never gave them a names. The queen who died wasn't the Queen of England, that was the Queen of Canada. Hello?
Yeah, well, not only that, I mean, as long as they're not saying something that isn't true, like that's slander. But slander is very, very difficult to prove. Almost no slander cases actually go to trial.
And again, even if it was slander, they never mentioned them by name. They just created characters in their likeness.
Yeah. Well, and slander has to be something that is untrue and causes damage. And the causes damage part is really difficult to prove.
So, yeah. That's where we're leaving it there because, they're just going to continue on their rampage until they realize, or until he either realizes she's toxic for him and leaves her, which we're clearly getting rumors of, or until she decides enough is enough and pulls her head out of her own ass. Which is probably never going to happen for her because she's a narcissist.
Yeah, I wouldn't count on that happening.
No, I'd sooner I think I would sooner see pigs fly.
Thanks for geeking out with us this week.
If you enjoy our content, please like, share, and subscribe.
Stay tuned for our next segment.
Bye.
Bye.